He was just another drifter, or so the folks in Pine Hollow thought, his boots worn thin and his hat stained with years of dust. But when Cole Ramsey sank his last dollar into that forsaken ranch, he stumbled onto something that had rattled the town to its bones. The place was a wreck, fences down, fields barren, and a barn that leaned like it was ready to collapse. The townsfolk whispered it was bad luck, that the last owner had fled under a shadow no one dared name. Cole didn't care for rumors. He'd faced worse than superstition in his years riding the plains. It was dusk, the sky bleeding red when he first stepped into the barn. The air was thick with mildew, the floor littered with broken tools and rotting hay. His lantern cast jagged shadows as he poked around, looking for anything worth salvaging. That's when he heard it, a faint rustle, like a mouse, but heavier. He froze, hand on the revolver at his hip. "Who's there?" His voice cut through the silence, sharp as a whip. No answer, just the creak of the barn's timbers. He raised the lantern, its light catching a pair of eyes in the far corner, wide and glinting like a cornered animal's. A girl, no more than 20, crouched behind a stack of crates. Her hair was tangled, her dress torn, and her face smudged with dirt. But it was the fear in her eyes that stopped him cold. "Don't shoot," she whispered, voice trembling. "Please." Cole lowered his gun, slow. "Ain't gonna hurt you. What's a girl like you doing in my barn?" She didn't move, her gaze darting to the door like she expected hell to come through it. "Hiding." "From what?" Her lips pressed tight, like speaking the truth might summon it. "Them," she said finally. "The ones who want me gone." Cole's jaw tightened. He'd seen trouble before, rustlers, bandits, men with debts to settle. But this was different. This girl wasn't just scared. She was hunted. "Who's them?" She shook her head, clutching a small bundle to her chest. "You don't want to know. Not yet." He took a step closer, and she flinched. "This is my land now," he said, voice low but firm. "Anything hiding here's my business. Start talking." She hesitated, then pulled a folded paper from her bundle. Her hands shook as she handed it over. It was a wanted poster, edges frayed, with her face sketched in rough lines. Sarah Kane. Wanted for murder. Reward, $500. The words hit like a slug to the chest. "Murder? This slip of a girl?" "You did this?" he asked, holding up the poster. "No." Her voice cracked, fierce. "They're lying, framing me. I saw something I shouldn't, and now they want me dead." "Who's they?" he pressed again. She glanced at the door, voice dropping to a whisper. "The sheriff, the mayor, half the damn town." Cole's gut twisted. Pine Hollow was small, tight-knit, the kind of place where secrets festered like rot. He'd met Sheriff Holt, gruff, hard-eyed, quick to flash his badge. The mayor, Grayson, was all smiles, but Cole had seen men like him before, hiding knives behind their grins. If this girl was telling the truth, he'd bought more than a ranch. He'd bought a war. "Stay here," he said, folding the poster into his vest. "Don't move till I'm back." "Where are you going?" Her voice was sharp with panic. "Town. Need answers." "Don't!" She grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "They'll kill you if they know you found me." He met her eyes, steady. "Let 'em try." Cole rode into Pine Hollow under a moonless sky, the wanted poster burning a hole in his vest. The saloon was still open, its piano jangling faintly. He pushed through the batwing doors, scanning the room. Sheriff Holt sat at a corner table, nursing a whiskey. Cole approached, keeping his face neutral. "Evening, Sheriff," he said, sliding into a chair. "Heard you're looking for someone." Holt's eyes narrowed, his hand resting near his gun. "What's that to you, Ramsey?" Cole leaned forward, voice low. Found something on my land. A girl. Says she's innocent. Holt's face didn't change, but his knuckles whitened around his glass. You're new here, so I'll say this once. Some things ain't your concern. Leave it be. And if I don't? Holt's smile was cold. Then you'll wish you had. Cole left the saloon, his blood simmering. The sheriff's words weren't just a warning, they were a threat. Back at the ranch, he found Sarah still in the barn, her eyes wide with questions. They know you're here, he said, checking his revolver. Won't be long before they come looking. She nodded, clutching her bundle tighter. Then we're both in it now. Cole didn't sleep that night. He sat by the barn door, rifle across his lap, listening for hoofbeats in the dark. The girl was a spark, and Pine Hollow was dry tinder. Whatever she'd seen, it was big enough to burn the town down. And Cole had just lit the match. Cole Ramsey hadn't signed up for this. He'd wanted a quiet life, a patch of land to call his own. But the girl in his barn, Sarah Kane, with her hunted eyes and a wanted poster branding her a killer, had dragged him into a fight he couldn't walk away from. The air in Pine Hollow was thick with secrets, and Cole could feel them closing in like a noose. Dawn broke over the ranch, painting the sky in streaks of fire. Cole hadn't slept, his rifle still propped against the barn wall. Sarah sat in the corner, her knees pulled up, the bundle of papers clutched tight. He'd skimmed them last night, letters, cryptic and scrawled, hinting at a deal gone sour. Names popped up, Sheriff Holt, Mayor Grayson, even Doc Wheeler. Debts, threats, and a mention of a shipment buried under coded words. Whatever Sarah had stumbled into, it was bigger than murder. You gotta tell me everything, Cole said, voice rough from the long night. No half-truths. What did you see? Sarah's eyes flicked to the barn door, like she expected it to burst open. I worked at the saloon, she said, voice low. Heard things. Grayson and Holt, late at night, talking about a haul. Gold, maybe? Or something worth more. They thought I was just another barmaid, invisible. Then I saw the ledger. Ledger? She nodded, pulling a small, leather-bound book from her bundle. Found it in Grayson's office. Lists of names, payments, dates. I took it. Next day, they pinned a murder on me. Said I killed old man Carver. Cole's jaw tightened. Carver had been a prospector, found dead in a gulch last spring. Throat cut. You didn't do it. No. Her voice was fierce. But they needed a scapegoat. And I knew too much. Cole took the ledger, flipping through its brittle pages. Numbers, initials, and coded phrases. None of it clear, but damning enough to make a man sweat. Why not run? Leave Pine Hollow? They'd find me, she said. They've got eyes everywhere. Besides, I'm tired of hiding. He didn't argue. Something in her voice, steel under the fear, told him she'd fight to the end. But the end was coming fast. Hoofbeats echoed in the distance, faint but growing louder. Cole grabbed his rifle. Stay low, he said, moving to the barn door. Through the cracks, he saw 3 riders approaching, dust trailing behind them. Holt's deputies, hats pulled low, rifles glinting in the morning light. Sarah's breath hitched. They're here. Not yet, they ain't. Cole checked his revolver, 6 shots ready. You know how to shoot? She nodded, pulling a derringer from her boot. Small, but deadly at close range. I'm no damsel, Ramsey. Good, 'cause this is about to get ugly. The riders stopped at the edge of the ranch, dismounting with practiced ease. Deputy Tanner, a wiry man with a scar across his cheek, called out, Ramsey, we know you're hiding her. Hand over the girl, and we walk away. Cole stepped onto the porch, rifle steady. She's got a name, Sarah Kane, and she says she's innocent. Tanner spat in the dirt. Her word's worth less than a busted spur. Sheriff wants her, now. Then come get her, Cole said, voice cold as iron. The deputies spread out, hands on their guns. Cole's eyes flicked between them, calculating. 3 against 1 wasn't great odds, but he'd faced worse. The barn was his ground, and he'd make them pay for every step. Last chance, Ramsey, Tanner said. Don't make this bloody. Cole's answer was a shot, splintering the fence post by Tanner's horse. The animal reared, and the deputies scrambled for cover. Bullets tore through the morning air, splintering the barn's walls. Sarah fired from a gap in the boards, her derringer cracking sharp. One deputy yelped, clutching his arm, but the others kept coming. Cole ducked behind a water trough, returning fire. A bullet grazed his shoulder, hot and stinging, but he didn't flinch. "Sarah, get to the house!" he shouted. She didn't argue, slipping out the barn's back door and sprinting for the ranch house. Cole laid down cover fire, forcing the deputies to hunker low. But Tanner was quick, circling wide, his rifle aimed at the house. Cole swore under his breath and bolted after Sarah, bullets kicking up dirt at his heels. Inside the house, Sarah barricaded the door with a table. "They won't stop," she panted. "Not till I'm dead." "Then we make 'em regret trying." Cole reloaded, his shoulder bleeding but steady. "This ledger, where'd Grayson keep it?" "His office, behind the saloon. Locked drawer." Cole nodded. "We get that drawer open. We get proof. Something to make 'em back off." Her eyes widened. "You're going into town?" "Got no choice. They're coming for us either way." The gunfire outside slowed, replaced by Tanner's voice. "Ramsey, you're making this worse. Give her up, or we burn the place down." Cole peered through a window. The deputies were regrouping, one tending his wounded arm. "They're stalling," he muttered. "Waiting for Holt." Sarah gripped her derringer. "What's the plan?" "We hold 'em off till dark. Then I ride to town. You stay here. Keep the ledger safe." She shook her head. "I'm coming with you. You're the one they want dead. And you're the one they'll kill to get me." Her eyes burned. "We're in this together, Ramsey." He didn't argue. Something about her, stubborn, fierce, made him trust her. They spent the day fortifying the house, boarding windows and stacking crates. By dusk, the deputies were gone, but Cole knew better than to relax. Holt would come, and he'd bring more men. As night fell, Cole and Sarah saddled 2 horses, the ledger tucked in her saddlebag. The ride to Pine Hollow was quiet, the air heavy with the promise of trouble. The saloon's lights glowed ahead, a beacon in the dark. Whatever Grayson was hiding, it was in that locked drawer. And Cole was done waiting for answers. The night was black as coal, the only sound the creak of saddles and the soft clop of hooves as Cole Ramsey and Sarah Kane rode toward Pine Hollow. The ledger in Sarah's saddlebag felt heavier than a loaded gun, its coded pages a ticking bomb. Cole's shoulder throbbed from the deputy's bullet, but he pushed the pain down. They were walking into a snake pit, and hesitation would get them both killed. Pine Hollow's main street was quiet, the saloon's yellow lights spilling onto the dust. Cole tethered the horses in an alley, his eyes scanning the shadows. "Stay close," he whispered to Sarah. "We get in, get the proof, get out." She nodded, her derringer tucked in her belt. "Grayson's office is in the back, drawers locked, but I know where he hides the key." They slipped through the saloon's side door, the piano's jangle masking their steps. Drunkards slumped over tables, oblivious, but Cole's nerves were taut as wire. Sarah led him past the bar to a narrow hallway, where a locked door marked "Private" stood. She knelt, fishing a small key from behind a loose floorboard. "Too easy," Cole muttered, revolver in hand. "It ain't," Sarah said, turning the key. "Grayson trusts his muscle to keep folks out." The office was cramped, smelling of cigar smoke and whiskey. A heavy desk dominated the room, its top drawer secured with a brass lock. Sarah worked fast, unlocking it and pulling out a second ledger, thicker than the first. She flipped it open, her finger tracing lines of numbers and names. "Here," she whispered. "Shipments, dates, payoffs to Holt, Wheeler, even the judge." Cole's eyes narrowed. "What's the shipment?" Her voice dropped. "Dynamite, stolen from a mining outfit. They're selling it to outlaws, Cole. Bandits hitting stagecoaches, trains. Grayson's been bankrolling them." He cursed under his breath. "That's why they want you dead. You're the loose thread." Before she could answer, boots thudded in the hallway. Cole pulled Sarah behind the desk, his revolver cocked. The door swung open, and Mayor Grayson filled the frame, his bulk casting a shadow across the room. His eyes locked on Sarah, then Cole, and a slow, ugly smile spread across his face. "Well now," Grayson said, voice smooth as poison. "The drifter and the murderess. You're making this too easy." Cole stood, gun steady. "Step back, Grayson. We got what we need." Grayson chuckled, unfazed. "That ledger won't do you no good. Nobody in this town'll believe a word from her." He nodded at Sarah. "Or a nobody like you." "Then why are you sweating?" Cole said, catching the glint of fear in Grayson's eyes. The mayor's hand twitched toward his hip, but Sarah was faster, her derringer aimed at his chest. "Don't!" she snapped. "I ain't afraid to shoot." Grayson raised his hands, still smiling. "You pull that trigger, this town'll bury you both. Holt's on his way with a posse. You're trapped." Cole's blood ran cold, but he kept his voice steady. "Then we'll take you with us." A shout came from the saloon, Holt's voice, barking orders. Cole grabbed the ledger, shoving it into his vest. "Sarah, move!" They bolted for the window, smashing through the glass into the alley. Shouts and hoofbeats echoed behind them as they untethered the horses and rode hard into the night. Bullets whizzed past, one clipping Cole's hat. Sarah rode low, her face set like stone. "They're coming," she said, breathless. "Holt won't let this go." Cole glanced back. Lanterns bobbed in the distance, a half-dozen riders gaining. "We make it to the ranch. We can hold 'em off." "For how long?" Her voice was sharp, but not panicked. "Long enough to figure out who ain't bought by Grayson." They reached the ranch as the first stars faded, the house a dark silhouette against the hills. Cole barricaded the door while Sarah checked the ledger by lantern light. "There's a name here," she said, pointing. "Eli Carver, the man I'm supposed to have killed. He was part of their deal. Then he wanted out." Cole's mind raced. "So they killed him. Pinned it on you." She nodded. "And this ledger proves it. Dates, payments, Carver's name stops the day he died." A rifle shot cracked outside, splintering the porch. Cole doused the lantern, plunging the room into darkness. "They're here," he said, peering through a boarded window. Holt's posse fanned out, shadows moving in the moonlight. "Ramsey!" Holt's voice boomed. "You're harboring a fugitive. Come out, or we burn you out." Sarah gripped her derringer. "They'll kill us either way." Cole checked his rifle, his face grim. "Then we make 'em work for it." The posse advanced, their lanterns like fireflies in the dark. Cole fired a warning shot, scattering them, but Holt's voice cut through again. "You're dead, Ramsey! You and that girl!" Sarah leaned close, her voice a fierce whisper. "We can't stay here. They'll torch the place." Cole nodded, his mind racing. The ledger was their only leverage, but it wouldn't mean a damn thing if they were dead. "There's a dry gulch north of here," he said. "Narrow, good cover. We make a stand there." They slipped out the back, leading the horses through a copse of scrub pines. The posse's shouts faded as they reached the gulch, its rocky walls offering a slim chance at survival. Cole tied the horses and handed Sarah a spare revolver. "You ready for this?" Her eyes burned with defiance. "I've been ready since they put my name on that poster." They crouched behind a boulder, the ledger tucked safe in Cole's saddlebag. The posse's lanterns flickered closer, Holt's voice barking orders. Cole's heart pounded, but his hands were steady. The truth was in their hands, but truth didn't stop bullets. And Holt was coming to bury them both. The gulch was a jagged scar in the earth, its rocky walls closing in like a trap. Cole Ramsey crouched behind a boulder, his rifle slick with sweat. Sarah Kane knelt beside him, her revolver steady despite the fear in her eyes. The ledger, their only proof of Pine Hollow's corruption, sat heavy in Cole's saddlebag. Sheriff Holt and his posse were closing in, their lanterns flickering like wolves' eyes in the dark. The air was thick with dust and the promise of blood. "They're coming," Sarah whispered, her voice taut. "We can't hold 'em forever." Cole nodded, scanning the gulch. "Don't need forever. Just till we can get that ledger to someone who ain't bought by Grayson." Her laugh was bitter. "Good luck. Half the town's in their pocket. Then we find the other half." Cole's eyes flicked to the ridge above. "Stay low. Cover me." He slipped along the gulch's edge, moving silent as a shadow. The posse was fanning out, 6 men strong, Holt's voice barking orders. "Spread out! They ain't getting out of this!" Cole's heart pounded, but his hands were steady. He'd faced long odds before. Rustlers, storms, a stampede that nearly crushed him. But this was different. This wasn't just about survival. It was about truth, about a girl who'd been framed to bury a town's sins. He glanced back at Sarah, her face set like flint. She deserved a chance, and he'd be damned if he let Holt take it. A deputy crept too close, his lantern casting light on the rocks. Cole lunged, slamming the man's head against stone. The deputy crumpled, his lantern shattering. Shouts erupted, and bullets tore through the night. Sarah fired back, her revolver cracking sharp, forcing the posse to duck. "Ramsey!" Holt roared. "You're done! Give up the girl, or we bury you both." Cole's answer was a shot that grazed Holt's hat. "Come and try, Sheriff." The posse pressed closer, their gunfire relentless. A bullet clipped Cole's arm, blood soaking his sleeve, but he kept moving, dragging Sarah toward a narrow pass in the gulch. "We get through there," he panted. "We can lose 'em in the hills." Sarah nodded, her derringer spent, but her revolver still hot. "What about the ledger?" "We keep it safe. It's our only card." They reached the pass, a choke point barely wide enough for a horse. Cole shoved Sarah ahead, covering her retreat. Bullets ricocheted off the rocks, and a deputy screamed, hit by Sarah's fire. But Holt was relentless, his shadow looming as he advanced, revolver gleaming. "You're protecting a killer, Ramsey," Holt shouted. "She's poison." "She's innocent," Cole shot back, his rifle spitting fire. "And you know it." Holt's laugh was cold. "Innocent don't matter when the town wants blood." Cole's mind raced. The pass was their only shot, but Holt's men were too close. He spotted a ledge above, just high enough to give them an edge. "Sarah, climb!" he hissed, boosting her up. She scrambled onto the rock, pulling him after her. They crouched low, the ledger still secure. Below, Holt rallied his men. "They're trapped! Burn 'em out!" A torch flared, its light dancing on the gulch walls. Cole's stomach dropped. Fire would flush them like rats. He leaned close to Sarah, voice urgent. "We make a stand here. You ready?" Her eyes met his, fierce and unbroken. "Let's end this." They opened fire, picking off 2 deputies before the posse scattered for cover. But Holt was smarter, circling wide, his torch casting shadows that twisted like demons. Cole's rifle clicked empty. He drew his revolver, 5 shots left. Sarah's gun was down to 3. "We're outgunned," she said, voice steady despite the odds. "Then we get clever." Cole's eyes landed on a loose boulder above the pass. "Help me push." They heaved, muscles straining, until the boulder teetered and fell, crashing into the pass with a thunderous roar. Dust choked the air, and the posse's shouts turned to chaos. The path was blocked, buying them time, but Holt's voice cut through the haze. "You can't run forever, Ramsey!" Cole grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her toward the hills. They stumbled through scrub and stone, the ledger a weight against his chest. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in streaks of gold. They reached a rise overlooking Pine Hollow, the town small and quiet below. "We can't go back," Sarah said, catching her breath. "Not yet." Cole nodded, pulling the ledger from his saddlebag. "We don't need to. We get this to the territorial marshal. He's out of Grayson's reach." Her eyes widened. "You know where to find him?" "Fort Laramie, 3 days' ride." He handed her the ledger. "You hold on to this. If I go down, you run." She shook her head, shoving it back. "We go together." Before he could argue, hoofbeats echoed behind them. Holt had cleared the pass, his posse smaller, but still deadly. Cole and Sarah mounted their horses, riding hard across the open plain. The marshal was their only hope, but Holt was gaining, his bullets kicking up dust. They reached a shallow river, the horses splashing through. Cole glanced back. Holt was close, his face twisted with rage. Sarah's horse stumbled, and she nearly fell, but Cole grabbed her arm, steadying her. "Keep going!" he shouted. The chase stretched on, the sun climbing high. Cole's arm burned, his vision blurring from blood loss, but he pushed on. Sarah rode beside him, her face grim but unbroken. They crested a hill, and there, in the distance, was a rider in a black coat, the marshal's insignia glinting on his chest. "Almost there," Cole panted. "Just hold on." A shot rang out, and Sarah cried out, her shoulder blooming red. She swayed but clung to her saddle, the ledger still in her grip. Cole fired back, dropping one of Holt's men. The marshal spurred his horse, closing the gap, his deputies behind him. Holt reined up, his face pale as he saw the marshal. "This ain't over, Ramsey," he shouted, turning his horse and fleeing with what was left of his posse. Cole slid from his saddle, catching Sarah as she slumped. "Stay with me," he said, his voice raw. The marshal reached them, his eyes sharp as he took in the blood, the ledger, the desperation. "What's this about?" the marshal demanded. Sarah, pale but defiant, handed him the ledger. "The truth," she said. "Pine Hollow's rotten. This proves it." The marshal flipped through the pages, his face hardening. "You're Sarah Kane, wanted for murder." "Framed," Cole said, stepping between them. "Read that ledger." Holt and Grayson set her up to cover their tracks. The marshal's gaze softened, just a fraction. "You two are in deep. But if this checks out, Holt's the one who'll hang." Sarah swayed, and Cole caught her, his own strength fading. "She needs a doc," he said. "Now." The marshal nodded, signaling his men. "We ride for Laramie. You've got a story to tell." As they rode, Sarah's hand found Cole's, her grip weak but sure. The ledger had saved them, but the cost was carved in blood and dust. Pine Hollow's reckoning was coming, and they'd lit the fuse.